is Lori Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception? Answer, guilty.
Lori Vallow Daybell, guilty on all counts in the murder of her children, Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow, and the conspiracy to murder Tammy Daybell, her husband's late wife. This trial may be over, but Lori Vallow Daybell's legal troubles are not. Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Angenette Levy. The jury in Lori Vallow Daybell's trial deliberated for nearly 7 hours before reaching its verdicts. Vallow Daybell was promptly returned to the Madison County Jail and booked, a new mugshot taken showing her in a jail jumpsuit and long braids. Vallow Daybell will be housed there until she is sentenced. The likely penalty? Life in prison without parole. After sentencing, she'll be transferred to the Idaho Department of Corrections, where she'll be evaluated and placed in a prison from there. But Vallow Daybell's time in a courtroom is far from over.
He says, I'm Nick Snyder. I've taken over Charles's body.
The so-called Doomsday cult mom faces a conspiracy to commit first-degree murder charge in Maricopa County, Arizona, for the July 2019 shooting death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow.
And I said, I want you to put that bat down, and he wouldn't do it. He's like, and he came at me with the bat again after he'd already hit me in the head, so I shot him to stop him.
Alex Cox, Lori's brother, shot and killed Charles and claimed self-defense. Nearly 5 months later, Alex Cox died of natural causes. Later, in July 2021, Lori was charged with conspiring with Alex to kill Charles.
He grabbed the bat from Tylee and then went to hit Tylee with the bat. And I was right there, they were right there, and my brother grabbed him from behind, just to stop him from hitting Tylee.
You go like this, he grabbed him
Yeah, from behind, just kind of to pull him back. And then they got into the thing, and he's hitting him with the bat, and they're on the ground, grappling around or whatever. And then, that was all quickly.
Charles Vallow was the first person to raise concerns about Lori Vallow Daybell to police back in January of 2019. He was concerned about Lori's mental health and her extreme religious beliefs.
So she's speaking as a spiritual being?
She's not here. She's lost her reality.
Is this just all recent, or has it been going on?
It's been going on for about 4 or 5 years. It's gotten really, really bad lately.
Maricopa County, Arizona plans to initiate extradition proceedings for Lori Vallow Daybell after she is sentenced for the Idaho murders. That process means she will be brought back to Arizona to face the charge in Charles Vallow's death. And that process could take anywhere from weeks to months. Joining me to discuss this and the very latest in what is next for Lori Vallow Daybell is Law and Crime's GiGi McKelvey. She is also the host of the Pretty Lies and Alibis podcast. GiGi, you were in the courtroom the entire time for this trial. So do you see Lori Vallow Daybell taking the Arizona case to trial, or do you think that there could be a plea deal to be worked out?
I could go either way on that. I mean, on one hand, her goose is cooked. She's going to prison for the rest of her life. It's one last plane ride to her old home, state of Arizona. So I think in that regard, maybe she'll take it all the way. Maybe she thinks that she'll get off. And, what's interesting is the date that Brandon Boudreaux was shot at was included in that press release by Maricopa County. So will they announce charges before she's extradited, which could take months? That's remaining to be seen. I do think maybe she takes it there, though.
Taking it to trial, because as we saw in this trial, it appeared from the way she was behaving in the courtroom and the lack of a defense that she is possibly really entrenched in her beliefs.
I really do think she is. I mean, there's a culpability there because when all this went down, she lied through her teeth to every investigator that approached her. I've heard from sources that she still very much believes a lot of the beliefs she did before she got arrested, which complicates things and may explain some of her bizarre behavior in court, which just had us kind of baffled and shaking our heads, especially with the subject at hand and the photos on the screen, no reactions. So I do think that there is a disconnect there, but not so much of a disconnect that she didn't know what she was doing then. And even now, I think she's just blocked it and doesn't want to believe that this happened.
There are also questions about whether or not Lori will face charges in the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux. Brandon is the ex-husband of Lori Vallow Daybell's niece, Melanie Boudreau-Pulowski. Someone fired at Brandon Boudreau in October 2019. That date is referenced in a statement issued after the Idaho verdict by the prosecutor's office in Arizona. The statement says the Maricopa County Attorney's Office has made the state of Idaho aware of our intention to prosecute the defendant in Arizona for charges stemming from these submittals. Currently, Lori only faces a charge in the murder of Charles.
We have them on surveillance going to that storage unit, taking the spare back tire that had to be taken off for Alex to lay down in that back seat and take that shot, as well as the back seat itself. So we have her on camera moving those things from the Jeep that needed to go in order for him to lay down and try to kill Brandon Boudreau. Very interesting. Maybe they just want to settle Idaho, let this case come to its conclusion, and then hit her with another round of charges, which I've always suspected would come after this case. I'm just curious to see who else might get charged along with that.
Do you think that Chad Daybell's attorneys have any preference on whether or not she goes to trial, Lori goes to trial in Arizona before Chad's trial starts potentially in June of 2024?
I don't think it matters. Look, if I'm John Pryor, he has been there pretty much the whole trial, getting a sneak peek of what the prosecution has and how they're going to present it. I can't imagine that with what we've heard, that the case against Chad was actually a more solid case than Lori. She got the conspiracy to commit murder charge. She was found guilty on that with very little evidence actually pointing to a conspiracy. I think John Pryor's maybe going to tell Chad, take your plea deal. I don't think it matters. These cases are severed. We know that as of right now, Chad's not being charged in the murder of Charles Vallow. They said there was not enough evidence there for a successful prosecution. With Brandon, we don't know. They haven't released anything. I don't think either way it matters. The honeymoon's over. They can portal back and forth all they want. In reality, they're never going to be physically together again. It's every man for himself. Lori didn't want to throw Chad under the bus. Her attorneys did in closings, and she was none too happy. But as far as the Arizona charges, I don't think Chad or John Pryor care about Arizona at this point unless it involves Chad. And that would come from Brandon, because we know right now he's not charged with anything having to do with Charles's murder.
If convicted in Arizona, Lori Vallow Daybell would be sentenced to a minimum of 25 years in prison. Only after serving 25 years would she be eligible for parole. For Law and Crime, I'm Angenette Levy.